Hello everyone. I want to thank you for coming back to my channel. And this is one episode of Government Number 2. When the government starts to tell us anything that we can think, they have transgressed beyond what they have a right to do. America is supposed to be a land of freedom. And we have as that what we refer to as the legislative branch of government. The legislative branch of government is to make laws. Since we don't want anyone in there more than 2 terms, we don't want professional politicians. Get rid of every single one of them. Not one of them belongs there. All they are is a pig eating at the public trough, and we don't need pigs there. The citizens of America pay too much in taxes already. Now, as I said before, anytime you don't own 50% of something, you don't own anything. They have taken it away from you. Americans pay more than 50% in taxes. Add your gas taxes, your property taxes, your sales taxes, and your income taxes, and in all the other taxes, and you have more than 50%. A law needs to be made, without a doubt, when any American pays 33% of what he has earned for a living, he owes no more taxes. So, when you've paid 2/3, when you paid 1/3 of all of your income, and you've only kept 2/3 for yourself, you are not allowed to have one other penny taken away from you. If 33 1/3% of what you pay in taxes is all that you can pay, because that only leaves you 2/3 left, it reduces your property tax, it reduces your sales tax, it reduces your income tax, it reduces everything. And how are we going to accomplish that? You get rid of government employees. The government is not an entity. They can't hire anyone. Now, we have a legislative branch of government. Not only are they to make the laws, but they are also to assign contracts. And the contracts are bid on by the people of the community. That's why we refer to it as a capitalist society. We don't have any public utilities. We don't have any government employees. We have independent contractors that bid on everything. No contract should ever be given for a period of more than 4 years. And the majority of contracts overwhelmingly should be limited to 2 years maximum. Now, once you bid to do a job, if you do that job successfully for up to 2 years, you should be able to have a contract that will last that long, so that you can make the profit you know you need to make during that 2-year period. Making the profit that you have planned to make by providing the service to the government and obeying all of the rules of the contract. Collect the money that should be collected, as long as it is from someone that you're allowed to collect it from. But there are ultimate rules. You can never take anything that belongs to someone that's only 2/3 of what he's earned. So if he has earned something, and as the rough calculation is, that would be roughly 50% of what someone else may have earned, and then the government takes 1/3 of that 50%, he would only have 2/3 of it left. The difference between capitalism and all other forms of government is that capitalism works from 50% to 100%. all other forms, whether you want to refer to it as socialism, communism, any kind of other kind of ism other than capitalism, is that it goes from 1/3 to 50%. And they can't ever get to more than 50% because they're so inefficient. Their inefficiency loses the other 50% that capitalism is able to share with the society. Now, that being said, I did live after the Second World War, which was the closest time to a true system of government than we should ever have. It was after the collapse of the stock market in 1930 to the end of the Second World War, late 1940s. During that time, from 45 to 55, we had that period of time that capitalism was moving into high gear and taking money that actually did not belong to them. Because as I said before, at least 2/3 to a half of what is being produced belongs to the individuals that are doing the production. Now, since we were able, with the benefit of Richard Nixon, and we have to give Richard Nixon credit for it, Richard Nixon started the collapse of the Soviet Union. And he did that by understanding a weakness between the Russians and the Chinese. So he immediately went to China, made some trade agreements that were bad for the United States of America, but were very advantageous for China. And he did that to create a division between China and the Soviet Union. And we have Richard Nixon to thank now for the fact that China did not step into the Ukraine and annihilate the citizens just like they did when the Hungarians wanted their freedom. When the Russians were unwilling to kill the Hungarians, they just recalled the Russians from the front lines, sent the Chinese over, and the Chinese had no problem killing anyone that didn't look like them. Again, the Chinese had the ultimate system. If it doesn't agree with you, kill it. And since at that time they considered themselves one of the superior nations to the planet, that if you did not agree that they were superior to you, they had a right to eliminate you off the face of the earth if they killed every Hungarian that was alive. Now, I'm sorry for the Hungarians that were murdered as a result of that altercation, but that alone should have caused the world order to eliminate killing on the planet. One human being does not have the right to kill another human being. Do we have a right to put them in a cage? Yes, if they act like an animal, they can be caged, and they can be caged to the extent that they have no physical contact with another human being ever again in their life. Now, that being said, it will probably make them want to die. If they want to have ended their life, they religiously have the right to make that decision. No one can tell another human being he has a right to live if that human being chooses to die. That human being has a right over his religious life and his attitude. And what we have to know from history is that religion is what creates invention. If human beings could not dream about what could or could not be done, which is a religious attitude, we would not have such a thing as invention. Now, why do I know that? Just go back and look at my videos on Philistines. The Philistines were the first nation on the planet that I'm aware of that ever created anything. And what they created was bronze. Bronze is not found on the earth. It is copper and tin that needs to be combined at a rate of about 10%. 10% tin to copper to 90% copper, and the combination of the tin and the copper at that ratio will create bronze. The first thing that Homo sapiens ever created was, that I'm aware of, is bronze. And since that is a unique creation that segregates us from any other animal on the planet, Homo sapiens are the only ones that created bronze. Homo sapiens are the only ones that are able to create bronze, and they've created a lot of other things since then. And therefore, we don't want to interfere with that creation ability, because as I've already said, I already know how to build a spaceship that can go and stay in space for more than one generation. Now, do I know that absolutely? Of course not. But I have a brain that knows how to think. I am a religious person. I'm a Christian. And I think if I don't know the answer and other human beings express the problem to me, God will reveal the answer to me. Now, I only do that because I am a Christian that lives in the kingdom of God. And that kingdom of God is the reason for my second book, which was about religion. And that book was to draw the conclusion that I thought the kingdom of God has been here for 2,000 years. And I did that on the unsubstantiated evidence of the book of John, where Jesus told the gentleman to throw the net on the other side of the boat, bring some of the fish, and let's eat. Now, at the time I wrote Are We Ready?, I concluded that Christ did eat with them, and that when he instituted the Lord's Supper before he went to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he was arrested and then crucified, before that happened, he told in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, all three Gospels, one idea, and that is that he would not drink of the vine of the wine. In other words, he wouldn't drink grape juice or wine again, or he would not eat bread again until he did it with his followers in the kingdom of God. And the kingdom of God that we're talking about is the one that most of us know. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And God's earthly kingdom of come is the same one that Jesus talked about when he went to raise Lazarus from the dead, which causes me to still believe that I am married, because my wife did not die. All she did was move from the earthly kingdom of God to the spiritual kingdom of God. She did not die. And when I got married to her, I said, till death do us part. So since she is not dead and I am not dead and I will never die, I don't have to worry about being remarried. I am already married and not available to be remarried. They call that polygamy. Now, I cannot be too harsh on that, because we have some people that refer to themselves as Christians that are called the Latter-day Saints or the Mormons. And since I've understood some of the beliefs of the Book of Mormons, I know they're not perfect either, and they made a few mistakes. And some of the mistakes they made may have been polygamy or may not. I am not drawing a conclusion on that because I do not think it is as large of a sin as a lot of women do think. But I am open to be taught. And since I haven't been taught that it is wrong, I will say that King Solomon also did not do anything wrong, having over 400 wives and a 300 concubine. That would give him access to 1,000 women a night. Now, I don't have that. In fact, I don't even have 1/1,000th of what he did. But we have to learn to live and get along, and we have to find women that agree with the way we think before they will participate in the activities that we want to participate in. If I find a female that thinks more along my thinking, I would be willing to participate in what I would refer to as a girlfriend with benefits. But that being said, we'll leave it at that and get back to government. Our government has to have another indication that proves that we will not make mistakes again. And there are two problems with the government. I've already mentioned the one about the branch of government that makes the laws and has to be responsible for writing contracts. They have to make contracts that will get the government work that they think cannot be subcontracted out by the local communities. The states cannot hire people. The counties cannot hire people. They have elected representatives. If you're not an elected representative, you cannot give a government paycheck. If you have served more than 2 times in the same office, you're not eligible to run for that office. If that serving in that office will put you in government, quote, service longer than 50% of your life, you're not eligible to run for that position in office. More than 50% of your life has to be served in the public community. That's the only way you learn the rules and learn to obey them. Otherwise, you become a pig at the public trough, and as we've learned from Hunter Biden, there is no end to that. That will have the same end as communism or socialism. Communism and socialism are both just another form of lying to the citizens and having a dictatorship. There are only 2 forms of government, a free government and a dictatorship. Dictatorships are all some form of slave society. Rome had a slave society. Most, in fact, I'm even going to include all of the Greek societies, because we do know there was a difference between Sparta and Athens. Sparta clearly had a slave society. Athens proclaimed to have a free society. And the United States of America used a lot of the Athenians' laws and regulations to create the society they had. What was wrong and proves that Sparta lied is Plato's predecessor. When Socrates was accused of corrupting the thinking of the citizens, the young people, in the Greek society, Socrates had the right to do it. Socrates can believe anything he wants to, and Socrates can think anything he wants to. Now we're going to get back to government. Government has the right to make a rule how one human being treats another human being. And that's why these rules have to be made up by a Congress, by senators and House of Representatives. We have so many of them because we want a vast majority of them to be on board for anything they call a law. If they can't make an agreement and the majority of them agree that this is a law, this is probably something that infringes on someone's rights. And therefore, that's why everyone has a right to be a senator or a representative, because you're only in there for 2 terms, and you probably go there because you know there's a law that interferes on your liberty, and you should have a right to get rid of that law. Now, when they said the law gave the citizens a right to tell Socrates he had to take poison and die, they cannot do that. No such law on a free society will ever do that. So now we know what the limits are to our, quote, legislators. You can't make up any law you want. The law has to overwhelmingly protect the freedom of the individual. That's why the House of Representatives and the senators together, called the Congress, are the guarantors of every citizen of the United States of America that you have freedom. You have a life of freedom. No more than 2/3 of anything you can think is a freedom of yours can be infringed on. Because when they transgress that 2/3, they have violated all of your freedoms. You have a right to go to Congress and destroy that law. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it if you agree with anything that I'm saying, that you will subscribe and you will come back to hear some of my future videos. For now, I thank you for coming and listening, and I thank you for participating. Thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you in the future. Goodbye for now.